50 at 6 o'clock. There we go. Got it.
Good morning, fellow Toastmasters and all of you potential Toastmasters out there. Welcome to the show. This is Wake Up with Toastmasters. I am your host and District 115 Club Growth Director for one more day.
Today only.
Tomorrow we will welcome our new Club Growth Director, Scott Transu, and I will become your Program Quality Director. So this is my last official hosting of Wake Up with Toastmasters as the District 115 Club Growth Director. So it's a real pleasure and an honor, and I will still be back. I'll still be on Tuesdays. Scott will be taking over on Thursdays at some point in the not too distant future. And with me today, of course, is my lovely co-host, distinguished Toastmaster, past District Governor, Phyllis Trivey. Good morning, Phyllis.
Good morning, Ken, and good morning to our public out there. Send us a message on Facebook. As you'll notice, Ken is busily checking to be sure we're going live and that we can read your messages. So at least say hello. And for those of you that are watching during the day and not while we are live, those messages are still read. So please put a message in there that you enjoyed the show or that you listened to the show. We love comments.
Absolutely. And we want to answer all of your questions, at least to the best of our ability. If you don't have an answer, we'll look it up or we'll find someone who does. So
we'll
today,
make a show of it.
Exactly. We'll dance around the question until we can find someone who has the answer that we need to share with you. But what we're going to do today is we're going to go to the TI website and take a look at some of the proposals that have been put forth and they're actually on the agenda this year to be voted on for changes in the bylaws. Now, I have glanced over them, and some of them are a little bit difficult to understand. And excuse me, but I'm going to show you where to find these proposals on the website, and we'll just briefly touch on them. And again, remind you about who's voting for your club. It's the president and the secretary who vote at the business meeting. And you can give your proxy to the district director. Of course, that will be, as of tomorrow, Jean Williams. And she can carry your proxy and vote on behalf of your club at the meeting. But it's helpful if you know who's running for what and what's being proposed for the meeting. So I'm going to go into our TI website, if you will just bear with me for a moment here.
Well, while you do that, I'd like to comment to our audience. Do not worry about how to give your proxy to Jean. You will get an email from Toastmasters International stating that information. So if by August the 1st you haven't gotten that, talk with Jean then, but wait until then because you will get information on how it's done. You're not expected to know this out of the blue. Information will come.
Okay, and hold on just a second. Scott is going to join us.
Oh, okay.
But he needs the link. So let me send him the link and then we will be joined by Scott. So bear with me.
Scott Transu is
yes,
our incoming growth director. So please welcome him. He's coming on now. Soon.
Well, not soon. He will be joining us soon.
We'll get some information about how he came to be in District 115 and why he's decided to run and become our club growth director and what ideas he might have for new clubs.
Yes, and we'll do that before we skip over to the website and take a look at some of the proposals that are out there.
There's always next Tuesday for those proposals.
That's right. We always have an opportunity to go forward with that. And there's Scott. There he is. Good morning, Scott.
How are you?
Good, good. Welcome to the show. We are live on Facebook, and we want to welcome you. For those of you who haven't had a chance to meet you, this is Scott Transu. He is our incoming Club Growth Director and will be taking over Thursdays for Wake Up with Toastmasters. So welcome, Scott. We're glad to have you with us this morning.
Thanks for the invitation, Ken. Great to be here.
Good. Well, we want to start. We're going to, a little bit later in the show, we're going to talk about the upcoming international meeting if we have time to get to it. But first, I'd like to help our audience get to know you a little bit. Mm-hmm. So tell us about your Toastmasters journey, if you will. How long have you been in Toastmasters? Why did you join? And what keeps you in Toastmasters?
Well, those are three very loaded questions, Ken, but I'll do my best to address each one of them. I actually started out with Toastmasters back in upstate New York, going back 10, 15 years ago now. And I joined because obviously I wanted to be better with communication and leadership. I was a little bit of a unique case in that I also knew that it might be a springboard into paid speaking, which was something that I always had some interest in doing. So I joined a club up in Albany, New York, Capital Toastmasters, and it is thankfully still in existence and doing very well. And during my tenure there, I served in multiple club capacities, president, treasurer, VP of education, and back then area governor, now area director, and even division director, and did very well in those spots as well. And moved out here to Vegas back in 2016. And I had made the transition to paid speaking actually during this time. I was a paid seminar presenter for a couple of large seminar companies across the country. So Toastmasters as an active member took a back seat during this time for about 6, 7 years. And I moved out to Vegas, and my full-time on the road seminar job went out the window with the pandemic. And I decided, well, Toastmasters has always been there, so I will get back going in it out here. I didn't know a soul in terms of Toastmasters in Vegas, didn't know anybody. And joined a club. I'm now a member of Bon Appetit and also transitioning over to Henderson Toastmasters right now. And had this crazy idea of being an area director out here, which of course last year I was in the role of. Had an even crazier idea of being a division director out here, and interviewed for that. And the head of the district leadership committee called me after my interview about a day later and said, listen, we don't have anybody for club growth director at the district level. And she said, would you consider that? And it shocked the heck out of me. It really did. It shocked the heck out of me. And I says, well, are you sure I'm ready? And she said, well, I wouldn't be calling you and asking you if I didn't think you were. So I raised my hand, and here I am. And that's the, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 minute version. There's a much longer version, but we don't have time for that. So there you go, Ken.
Well, that's great. And you're going to be taking over Thursdays with Phyllis on Wake Up with Toastmasters. So Phyllis, do you have any questions of Scott? You want to tease out some information?
Well, what kind of new ideas? Do you have any new ideas for clubs? Let's put you right on the spot here. What kind of ideas do you have for new clubs or new types of clubs or specialty clubs?
Sure. Well, I have a couple. And one thing about the club growth director role that's maybe a little bit more unique than the other two in the trio is this is more by its nature of a marketing role or a sales role. And some people are good at that and some people aren't. I am decent at it, and we'll find out how decent I am by next June. But I have a great committee being formed right now, and we have two ideas right now, and we'll probably obviously have more as the year goes on. But number one, corporate clubs. We have how many casinos on the Vegas Strip? We have how many private companies in and around the Vegas Valley that don't have a Toastmasters club? And I think a lot of that has to do with educating human resources, or in the case of a smaller company, educating the owner of the firm about why having people develop their communication and leadership ability is a benefit or an asset to the company as a whole. Bank of America, just to name one company, has done it quite successfully, not only here in Vegas, but also elsewhere in the country. And I think the corporate level is one place that we are going to concentrate our efforts in a big way. The other part about this, and this is just a generic type of aspect to it, is we can't be afraid to get on the phone and simply call companies or call organizations and say, hey, listen, Toastmasters is a wonderful group, communication and leadership ability. People grow a great deal during their time with our organization. Can we have 5 minutes or however much time you'll give us to tell you about the benefits of what we offer? And a lot of people, from my experience, are going to respond with, what the heck is Toastmasters? I've never heard of it, or it sounds great, but I don't know much about it. That's our job. That's my job. That's the committee's job to educate them. So we have the idea of the corporate level. I do know that on with the committee members that are currently in place, and we still need one more, hint, hint, there's already interest that's been drawn by one of the committee members from 2 different places. So we're going to be following up on that on July 1st, Friday, and getting going. But the committee is very, very committed to growing this district. We need new clubs, but we also need to grow the membership of a lot of existing clubs. And we want to get this district as involved and as heavy with clubs as we possibly can, because that's where leadership comes from. And it just makes the entire experience for everybody go a lot better and a lot more effectively. So that's where we're at right now.
Well, you mentioned marketing. Absolutely. When I was in the top 3, it was called marketing.
Right.
And I was not very good at it. The calling that you're talking about kind of takes a while to push a person forward to do that. So I'm very grateful that you are a person that's willing to make those phone calls. It probably took me at least 6 months to be comfortable with cold calls.
Yeah.
So, and it's a matter of you push yourself to do those things because that's what's needed and expected. And you
Right.
volunteer. I mean, I volunteered. I had to do the job. So I had to push myself. So I'm grateful that you have a committee already that's ready to start forward and get us those new clubs. Do you have an idea for retention?
The thing about retention is basically one thing, and that is I'm giving Toastmasters my dues payments every year. If the benefit or the value that I'm getting back doesn't seem to align with the dues payments I am making, that's where retention starts to go down, because I could be spending this money in other areas. And if it's not clear to me as a person or clear to a corporate environment that spending the money with Toastmasters is getting, there's a return on investment, to use a business term, then obviously retention will not be as high as it could be. So what we need to do a better job of is showing the existing membership, especially those who are brand new, exactly what's available. A lot of people who are new members don't even know that there's a district level leadership team. They don't know that. They come to a TLI, which we just had last Saturday, which was awesome, by the way. It was very well done. And all of a sudden they're learning about area directors and division directors and the trio, as we are called. And we saw, or at least I saw, I think Ken can back me up on this, we saw some light bulbs going off amongst those who were there. Like, oh my gosh, this isn't just a club thing. And that's, I think, where some of the retention could be better, or it could contribute to retention with people. Well, maybe I could be an area director. Sure, you could. You could be an area director. And it stokes the fires, the sizzle, and hopefully it will go a long way in keeping those retention numbers up.
Well, one of the things that I was just very upset with Toastmasters International is to eliminate our fall contest, because I thought that was the best opportunity contest for members to go outside of the club and see what else is there. Perhaps could we be thinking about maybe something extra in the fall to get those members out of the club?
I think we certainly could, yes. What that something is, we'd have to think about that. But I think, Phyllis, you're making a fabulous point in that, well, the only time we ever get together is when there's a competition. Mm-hmm. And I, as a person, not myself personally, but the person having these thoughts is saying, well, I don't really want to compete. I'm getting through pathways, and it's a struggle for me just to do my club speeches. I don't want to have to be forced into a competition just to meet other Toastmasters. So I think some of like the game nights and other things are great, but something that is in person that is not competition related is probably a really good idea, tremendous idea. And I'm going to bring that to the committee once the new year starts on Friday and see if we can kind of brainstorm as to what that something might be. But I think you're bringing up a fabulous point. Absolutely.
A fall party, no matter what we call it.
Yes.
Well, I'll have to jump in here and tell you that, I'm pretty familiar with the club, one of the clubs actually in Henderson, Saturday Morning Live. Some of the things that they've done represent a good example. They had it's been a couple of Saturdays ago, but they had a picnic in Sunset Park, which if you haven't been out, there's a huge park, but everybody brought a potluck. I think they did have a meeting of sorts, but the focus was on, building those connections with one another. And I think those are fabulous ways to sort of build that bond with the club members, is to do something outside the ordinary. And it was at the same time as their regular meeting, but it just was in a different setting, in a park where everybody brought something, and there was a lot more fellowship and what have you. And I know this year, I think one of the things they're planning is a night at Super Summer Theater. Have either of you been up to Super Summer Theater?
I have not.
No. Well, just for those in our audience who haven't been there either, it is up in Spring Mountain Ranch, and it is a play. They do plays in the outdoors. It's actually quite lovely up there. It's a little bit cooler because you're a little bit higher elevation. In fact, some evenings can get downright chilly when I've been up there. But they are doing different productions. I think they just wrapped a production of Mary Poppins. And they are starting, I think next week, they're in rehearsals right now, but starting next week is Sister Act will be their next production. So it's a little bit, further out of the way, but it's actually a very, very nice place. You can come early. They have picnic tables and what have you, so you can have a little party before the play starts, and it's just really quite a nice event. That's something that they are planning. So anyway, I wanted to get back to one thing, Scott, that I wanted to ask you. You had some insight when you were in New York because your mentor was Richard Peck. And
Yes.
Richard
Yes.
was, he is currently our Ag Team International president and has previously served a complete term. So tell us a little bit about that experience.
I was division director when he was district director, going back again several years. And the thing about Richard that really impressed me, and I'm sure it has not changed, is that he is one of the most humble people you will ever meet. He when you get to higher leadership roles, on occasion, it doesn't happen a lot, but on occasion, ego gets involved. And I don't see it happening in Toastmasters nearly as much as I see it happening in other organizations. But Richard was always extremely approachable and ran meetings very, very well. He was, in fact, I still have in the closet someplace a bunch of notes that I had jotted down from our district meetings, of course, that we had back then. And of course, back then they were predominantly live. We did some online stuff, but they were predominantly live. And he was a leader that never forgot the fact that the area and the division directors were the ones who were on the ground in the trenches, as it were. And I found that to be a really good teaching point. So real pleasure to serve with him, and really pleased that he's risen to the top of the mountain in Toastmasters as he has. And somebody that if anybody is going to Nashville in August and you get a chance to have a couple of minutes with Richard, it will be a great time for you. He very approachable, very humble guy, and someone who credits Toastmasters with a lot of what he's been able to do over the last several years. And it's a lot. It's a great deal.
Well, very good. Yes, I've attended a few. I think they were primarily educational or presidential addresses that were pre-recorded because he's still in New York, right? So
I believe Connecticut.
Oh, Connecticut. Okay. Yep. Well, a little bit of a time difference still.
Sure.
But I've heard him speak at last year's meeting. I can't remember the exact topic, but I was very impressed with, he just has one of those very confident demeanors and, excuse me, very soothing vocal variety, I should say.
Right.
So he's a really good presenter. And he seems to be, from my limited interactions, seems to be a very, very capable and committed Toastmaster. So we're glad. And I just wanted to sort of touch on that because I know you have had that opportunity. Now, one of the things that I want to make our listeners aware of, because we are at 6:24, so we're a little bit behind. I don't think we're going to get to the proposals that we were talking about. So we'll save that for Tuesday, Phyllis, if that's okay with you and our viewers, because I'd rather spend more time with Scott talking about some of his plans for next year, because I have to confess, I'm not a very good salesperson. I'm really not good at cold calls and what have you, but fortunately I had, as you were building a committee, I had a great committee with Jason LeDuc. And in fact, you're going to be wrapping up. I think we have about 3 clubs, which we'll talk about later, you and I, that will probably come online shortly after the new year begins. We didn't quite get it into the wire, but each of them for different reasons, but I believe all 3 will become our first new clubs of your year, Scott. So that'll be something very, very good way to get started. The thing I've learned too in this role over the past year is it does take longer than you think. You think, okay, everything is on track and this is going to happen by this date, and then it doesn't. there's always something that comes along that sort of surprises you. So that's my message to you, is just always remember, if something can, is it Murphy's Law? Something can go wrong, it will, and it will delay what you think you're going to accomplish. Because some of the things we started working on months and months ago are just now coming into fruition, and we thought we were further along. So that's my message to you, and also to have that good committee, because I recognize where a lot of my weaknesses are, my strengths and weaknesses, and my weaknesses are certainly in sales and marketing, which is odd. I'm not sure. But knowing that, I was able to recruit some great people like Jason, and had a great deal of support. The pandemic, I think, is changing. This past year, we did some transitioning out of the pandemic mindset, and I think we're moving into an endemic mindset, where we are learning to adapt. It's going to be sort of like the seasonal flu. We're going to get a booster every year or something like that. But I believe it has fundamentally changed the way Toastmasters functions in its members. We have clubs now who are exclusively going to be on Zoom. We have clubs that'll be hybrid. And I think the smaller portion may be the ones who meet in person only and don't offer, a hybrid setting. So it's going to be interesting to see how this year shakes out. We'll have our first in-person convention in August in Nashville. So that's going to be quite exciting coming up as well. And I would encourage all of our viewers once again to go to the TI website under the About tab to Board of Directors. You'll get a listing of all of the candidates who are running for office and all of the proposals. I also want to say hi to Jennifer. Jennifer Smith has joined us. So glad that you are here, Jennifer. And for those of you who are watching the recorded version of this program later, if you do have questions, you can send them to me at d115cgd@gmail.com. And that's actually going to be Scott's email address as well. He'll be taking over that. What we've tried to do at the trio level is to have a consistent email address that we sort of pass on to our successor. So that way our members will hopefully always know how to get to us. And if you want to watch this show, you can watch it either on the D115 Facebook page or on the Club Growth Director page, which is TMD115CGD at facebook.com. So join us later. And if you have questions, you can still send those to us and we will make sure we answer that. In terms of announcements, as Scott mentioned, we did have a wonderful TLI on the 25th. That was last Saturday. We've got another one coming up this Saturday, but it's going to be virtual. One of the things we have determined that we want to do is make sure that the TLI is accessible. So we're offering a full
Wait a minute.
TLI.
It's not this Saturday.
Oh, I'm sorry. The 9th, next Saturday.
Yeah, the bot gave me a heart attack there, Ken.
Sorry about that. I'm getting ahead of myself. July 9th. Thank you very much. We'll have that at the normal time. We would have educational enrichment night. We're going to have the TLI instead. So that'll be from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. But it is a full TLI. It's not a makeup TLI. It's a full TLI, so you'll be able to attend each of the classes you need. We do have a couple of really good presentations, educationals. One, Sherry Parker is going to be presenting club quality, how to build quality into your club. And Nadia Gilks is going to be presenting the DCP and club success plan. So you're welcome to tune into those, even though we're targeting our club officers to get them off to a great start. Anyone that wants to join us can do so. And you can send me an email and I'll make sure you get the link. You can also find the link in the newsletter. Let's see, the only other thing I have as announcements is don't forget game night, which is the last Saturday of the month. And on July 16th during the day from 9 to noon, we will have our first district officer training for area directors and division directors. Did I forget anything, Phyllis?
No, I think you're okay today.
Well, you know, it's not until I've had like my second cup of coffee, which I haven't had yet, that I actually can wake up and get to this. So we are at 6:30. We're going to be signing off here. And want to thank Scott for joining us and wish him all the best and let him know we're here to help. And we will answer any questions that you have. Just send me an email. And if you'd like to be a guest, please sign up. Anything else, Phyllis? Scott, that you want to say to our viewers?
And Scott, you got anything you want to tell our audience? Because we're there to help you.
Right. The only thing I would that I would not recommend but reinforce is the better word to use. Get all of your officers trained at the club level. That makes your club stronger, and that helps with the club success plan in a big way. So we've tried to make training as accessible as we possibly can, and Ken has done a tremendous job in that area. Get everybody trained. I know you only need 4, and that's for distinguished club, but let's get all 7. Let's get them all trained, and have a fabulous year. It starts on Friday, and we're ready to go.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thanks everyone for joining
us
today. We're going to be signing off of Facebook. Have a great day and a great weekend.